Welcome, everybody, back to Area Encounters. I'm your host, Josh. Tonight we have Anthony with us and a special guest, Anthony's brother, Joe. You can get into contact with me
Yes, sir.
at oneerieencounters@gmail.com. Anthony, can you tell the listeners how they can get into contact with you?
I'm Anthony, and my email is lowercase dude Anthony 64 at gmail.com.
All right, perfect. Thanks for sharing that information again, Anthony. Tonight we have two subjects that we are going to cover. One of them is the skinwalkers, and the other one is going to be Joe's experiences that he's had with a ghost box. And when we're on that subject, I'll kind of chip in too because I've had a couple of experiences on the ghost box with Anthony in the past. So on that note, Anthony, I'm going to let you take over because you're the one that had the idea of doing the skinwalkers, and you put in the work and all the effort for that.
Thank you, Josh, for having me on again. And the Skinwalkers, the Navajo Skinwalkers, is a form of a witch into a demon, from what I've read and seen on video. It's half man and half animal. And from what I heard, it's been seen around the state of Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Texas, and I believe New Mexico. And the stories that I've heard of the encounters is that the skinwalker can attack you, can attack your animals, it can attack animals. It has attacked animals, and it's people have come up missing, nowhere to be found, and they believe it was the skinwalker that has taken them. It's like I said, a form of man or a witch or man or woman, and it's a form of witchcraft, I believe, and how they do their sacrifice. You have to do sacrificing of a loved one, and also one of their beliefs is incest, and I forgot the other one. But that's pretty much what I've read up on them. I do believe it's real.
Yeah, and speaking in what I've done my own studies on too, it's basically a human form, half demon, half man, that they kind of collide their energies together to create these beings that the native people were afraid of. And so it's basically two people involved to make that happen, and it's a witch and a demon together to make a skinwalker. So a lot of that has to do with shape shifting in different forms to appear themselves as something different, but they're still spirit too.
Yeah, I know from my knowledge of skinwalkers because I brought it up on the podcast me and Anthony did last night of or not last night, the night before when we were doing like Dogman, and you know possibility of that being a skinwalker. But I know that it's very, very heavily based in Native American regions and beliefs. And
Definitely.
it's really more centered around like the witchcraft of Native Americans, and the spiritual things that they do.
Definitely.
Have you guys seen uh, the Curse of the Skinwalkers Ranch or heard about that?
I watched a little episode on it.
Oh
It was
yeah,
5 minute video.
yes, I
But
watched. A lot of weird stuff happens there. It's kind of too much for the own people in the law, and no one knows what's going on there.
Yeah, it's trippy. They're having like alien encounters there too, man. It's kind of weird. Like when
Yeah, it's pretty.
these creatures come up, there's always like a link to like extraterrestrials with it.
the video that I seen from Skinwalker Ranch was a cow that was dying, and you could see like a UFO, like saucer flying above, and unidentified spacecraft flying over.
Yeah.
With that whole area too came with like the same stuff that was happening to animals. That was almost like a Mexican legend, almost like 25 years ago. Was chupacabras, and that thing was supposed to be a shapeshifter too. You know, doing some crazy things to animals where it was like laser precision. Things taken out of animals, and they don't understand how an animal could go dry overnight with blood and stuff because these shift-shapers, something they possibly worked off too. They worked off these animals just like they were humans to keep them going. The shapeshifters are all considered like partially demon, and demon needs like sacrifice to stay here. So that's like their whole. It's like right in the same circle right there.
Yeah. I know
Yeah,
some of the forms, like you mentioned already, Anthony, but some of the forms is like a coyote, wolf, um, even some people,
bear.
bear. Even some people believe that the chupacabra is a skinwalker.
Definitely.
I mean, I totally believe it's real. I mean, Anthony, you know me, I know Joe. Like,
Yeah, it looks like a reptile with an alien head and like chihuahua legs.
yeah,
Yes, exactly. So
yeah,
it's like it could be just like a certain form of it.
yeah, exactly. Um, but Anthony, me and Joe. I mean, we've hung out before, and we've got a small, brief history. But I believe in a lot of these things. These legends and cryptids. I have a very open mind about this stuff, and my saying is, if you don't have an open mind, then you're just straight ignorant. Because
Yeah,
anything is possible.
definitely. There's like I said, there's a lot of things out there that we call question, but we all need answers. And the deeper you look into these things, the deeper it gets. Um, that's why they have legends and stories and all these things about these creatures and beings, because that's been happening for thousands of years. And history keeps on repeating the same thing, like, oh, they look like this or look like that, but they just say a little differently. It's like, whoa, you know it comes too close to home, or at least with me. It's like, whoa, now you're talking about something I heard a long time ago, but now just in a different place and a different story and a different time. I'm like, you know, uh, every culture has like a spiritual side, like a myth side, or like a fantasy side, and some of them match up too closely, and I'm like, oh, there's something here. So
I hear you, man. 100%. I
you
hear
got
you on that.
you
Yeah,
got to be you got to be open minded. Thousands of years and saying the same thing but differently. I'm like, whoa. it's different places and different times, but everybody got this jotted down in history. Like these things happen. Something that we all gotta like open our eyes to, and if we don't open our eyes to it, it's like, well, I guess it's easier to watch on TV and then just actually look it up, and then people are like, oh, I think sometimes people watch TV and stuff and they're like, oh, that's too good to be true. I'm like, well, is it? Like, because it seems like a lot of it already happened here. So,
Yeah, definitely. Hey, you know what's crazy, man? When you were just, explaining the things that you were, I was thinking, with like TV and just how everything is now with technology, I mean, we don't go to the library and research this stuff anymore. I mean, everything's just at
right,
the touch of our fingers now. But
right.
Everything's Google.
yeah, everything's Google now. And what's crazy is I don't think on the internet there really isn't that much covering a lot of this stuff with the cryptids and mythological creatures and the supernatural and all of it.
Oh, definitely.
I think to do your hard research, I really still believe that you need to hit the books, and actually physically read
Yeah,
books and stuff because there's so much information on there compared to
y-
the internet, and the internet is full of it. But
right,
those books
right.
have been around for centuries.
Exactly. And that's all these people that have been around the world for hundreds of years ago, they didn't get to tell their side of the story. But when you start tapping into different things in different times, and they're like, well, he just said he just seen that 200 years ago, or they said that they seen the same thing 400 years ago. Uh, it's like, well, and that happened, 20,000 years going back. Um, it must be true. Like there's something in between all that where, you know, we're not just these crazy people that make these ideas and put them on TV. Like these things actually happen. Basically saying, the books put us back to what history is too, because anybody could put anything on a screen and be like, oh, this is what it was. The books that too, some of the schooling gives us, they're like, oh, that's a little different, kind of putting the real stuff to the side and the fake stuff to the front. You start hitting those books, you're like, whoa, nothing makes sense here. You know what I mean? Either things clouded up or we're living still that TV world, and we just gotta open our eyes to the bigger thing.
Well, people always make fake videos and stuff, but just like the what we're talking about now is the Skinwalker. The way people have seen the images of it, encounters with it, is like the sharp teeth that it has, just the crooked yellow sharp teeth, or just how tall it is. It's just like, man, that's pretty scary, man. That's eerie.
Absolutely. For me, it kind of goes a little bit more into it with where it's coming from. Native Americans. Um, there's definitely something different about Native Americans than any other race. In the states, they're in touch with you know they're in touch with the land. A lot of their legends and their beliefs, it's real. I really do believe in a lot of the stuff that they present and their beliefs. I mean, how can you not believe in it? Because these guys were here before we even came here. Um, it's for me, it's a lot more believable with a civilization that has been here from time of the beginning and until now still.
No, I definitely remember seeing one of those like that, and no, a shaman did tell him like, that's that stuff's no bueno, man. That's you just walked into a territory where like our people shouldn't be, especially you shouldn't be in that
Yeah.
area. And like they got all freaked out. And for those guys to go into like some deep areas around the world, he you could tell their crew was like, okay, yeah, we need this because um, they felt it there. They said, they're like, oh yeah, something's not right with this land. Like, um, you know, hearing all those stories and stuff, anybody could get shook up too. But they said like they've been to a lot of places and they felt it. They're like, your feet are numb here. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. So that just shows you those are lands that have something there that we're not supposed to even be a part of or try to even get next to,
I
Right.
agree with that.
even though that's us. We're humans and we're curious people, beings. And sometimes those are some places like the Navajos say we should never go. So I believe them.
I agree with that, man. I don't really have anything else to really go off of with the skinwalkers, but if you guys have more to say about it, I am all ears.
The skinwalkers. Go ahead,
Well,
Joe.
like Anthony. Well, like yeah, go Anthony. Like you said, they came from the most of the story about them are from like Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Texas. But there's more than just one tribe, that they think in many tribes in the United States had the same like creature. So the only ones that really gave it a good name for us to put in our history books so far are only the natives that we have in that area, because in Alaska too, and up there they have the same creatures. So um, I guess that's going to be a ongoing research for us as human beings to find out what the hell these things are. But I guess it keeps the world interesting. Yeah, Anthony, do you know anything else more about them?
With them, that's what I've did my research on. They've been known for many years, since uh, like 1800s, probably even before then. They've been around. I've also this kind of twisted a little sideways from the whole Skinwalkers. Is the movie? It's a lion movie called Ghost in the Darkness, and it's about two lions that are possessed by demons. And the reason why I kind of twisted it that way is that anything formed or possessed by a demon or a witch demon, it attacks humans and attacks animals for the blood. If you notice that they'll go straight for the blood, and leave the whole animal. And the reason why I mentioned the movie Ghost in the Darkness is pretty much it's two lions that are possessed in Africa, and they the British were just landing there and building in Africa, and the stories with Michael Douglas in the movie, and Michael Douglas plays the dude that goes there, and when he goes there to figure out what's going on with these two lions that are hunting, just going straight for humans. And I compare that with, I don't compare it, but I'm just collabing both together. Is that, like I said, is most animals that are possessed, and that's what I believe. That's what a skinwalker is. It's a possessed human that is somehow, some way bind itself with an animal spirit.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what it is. That they got locked down so good though, like they could shape shift. They're like half dead, half alive, and they, like you said, they combine their like soul or whatever, their spirit, their energy with an animal, and that's just what they are now. You know, um, they're like it's almost like there's no coming back after that because now you just collab your soul with the animal, and
Yeah.
that's what you are. You know, I mean, that's what it seems like what a skinwalker is to me, and the people who just use it as an energy to scare people, make it their
How
job.
how the encounters
You
with
know,
people that I've had where the skinwalker has humongous teeth and uh misfigured face of an animal but walking like a man, and then is able to run
right?
about as fast as a car will go. One of the stories I heard was like
Yes,
it
that's
catching
a
up with a
theory too.
bus or a truck that somebody's driving, and they're just like, "This thing's following us," you know.
Hmm. Right? Yeah. And well, that's what it does. It can make you believe what it wants you to see, because another thing that they do is they paralyze and cause people to be confused at times. I was just reading this thing too, is saying that it'll make you forget what just happened. Almost just like if you had, you hear these stories of people that get abducted by aliens, like they'll make you forget everything, and then you have dreams about what happened to you, and you don't know what happened to you that day. So they say that skinwalkers could do the same thing. So
Wow.
that's pretty
I
deep.
I
know
heard
that.
another saying for
Yeah.
skinwalker is Wendigo,
Yes, yeah,
or is it
A
the same
Wendigo.
thing, or is it different?
it's the same
Uh,
thing. Um, I mean, there's a little bit of a twist to it, but end of
yeah.
the line, it's the same thing. But I mean, I do want to kind of touch up on what you
So,
guys were saying. Um, from what I just got done looking up to is the skinwalkers. They can also possess an animal or even possess another human being and take form of that human being just by glancing at it and you looking into its eyes. I mean, for me, I ultimately
wow.
think a skinwalker is it's a cursed soul that is living, that is really practicing, witchcraft. So I guess you can call it a demonic believing in that person, and they just
Definitely.
are they basically sold their souls and are capable of having these powers.
Yeah, for the meanwhile, they have a little power here, but it ain't much, but they like to use it. Um, I definitely believe the same thing that you just said, that they it's basically demonic because it's not for the good. They're doing bad. They're putting fear into people. They're basically doing sacrificing for a darker reason, and if they like to scare people, that can't be nothing good. So I agree. Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, I believe very much that it's a spiritual demonic being that attacks, willing to attack the living. It's just like these other demons that, like Debuk, the demon that they talk about on the possession, where it lived in a box, or it could live around an object of some sort, and it attacks the living. Anything that's a demon will attack the living. But whoa, my power just went out here, guys.
That's crazy because right when you were just saying your last sentence, you kind of like cut in and out, like you were like
I heard
fading
that
in and
too.
out real quick.
Really?
Yeah, and then you said, "Whoa, my power just went out."
Yeah, the whole block went out.
All right,
Well,
that's a
Oh, there
sign.
he
It's the
is.
Skinwalker.
He's like, you guys know
The
too
whole
much about me, man. He was like, I'm gonna cut into your information.
Hey,
that's PG.
you know, like we try to take it serious about what we talk about, but you got to have a little bit of a sense of humor every once in a while with this
Definitely.
stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
If not, then it's really scary, right?
exactly. So you know what? I think on that note, gentlemen, I think this is the perfect time and opportunity for Joe to talk about his experiences with the
Oh
ghost box.
man, the ghost box. Wow. Well, that's a fun thing because I mean I've used so many different ghost boxes and different things like that, equipment that actually a lot of it started back in the day with Anthony. Went from a hand recorder to a handheld radio that skipped frequencies. I think it was like 200 times a minute or 300 times a minute, and we were watching these shows, and Anthony's like, "Man, I'm gonna buy me one of those," and he ended up making it work the way that it worked on the show. I'm like, "No way!" So Anthony got a hand recorder, and I'm like, man, me being that young, I'm like so interested in anything like that. So we go to this area um, in Roseville, California, where we're from, where there's a lot of history and settlers been. Anthony started turning that thing on and asking questions, and uh, it was too perfect of timing and too perfect of sounds to realize that okay, there's something here. If it happens more than 10 times, um, giving you something that's really intelligent back. I have no other words saying, but that's who they say they are. If they're using that kind of equipment and they're getting the same responses on there and we're doing it over here, it just made it too real for me, you know. But that was my first one. My first ghost box thing. Then I had another buddy that had this one ghost box. I forget what it's called. He called it like Ghost Radio. I went out with him to this area with an old barn house. He started playing that thing. I took it as a joke with him at first. We're younger, all hanging out there, thinking we're all fun and dumb. But this thing that my buddy was trying to talk to, taunting it, and I'll never forget when he was taunting this thing at that place. I remember the feeling and hearing the static come through that little box of radio. I'm like, oh man. I was like, guys, this ain't funny. They're like, oh, you're being paranoid. I'm like, no, man, this isn't good. I was like, it's getting cold in this room, and this is something bad about to happen. You can just feel it. And then I had a buddy, and we could hear it all said, look out. And then all of a sudden, I just hear my friend get freaked out. Like he felt like something like whispered in his ear, and he ran out. And, us being like, oh, okay, that was only one person having an experience. Yeah, right. Maybe it was just all in his head. But then I got something that barely like tugged on my shirt behind me. And we're like, okay, if you're gonna do something, do it again. I got that same cold feeling again, and this is like 20 minutes later after that happened to the first guy. It happened to me, and that's when I got too real. I had to take a break from any kind of ghost box or anything like that for a while because I had to learn what more am I tapping into here by playing with these kind of things. And, now.
So
Oh,
have you done any more ghost boxes since
oh yeah. I
that
mean,
last
now I'm getting back
encounter?
into it, but I had to like kind of study more onto it. You know, younger, you don't know how to open and close, things just in case, where they say in any kind of form of this, something could attach itself to you. And, that's kind of a scary thing. And I didn't know, like, you had to close things, there's a lot of ins and outs by doing this kind of stuff, but I definitely tap into it. I don't go that crazy. I like to learn more about it before I do a lot more. I'm definitely interested into it. It catches my eye and ear on everything about it. But yeah, there's this new app that I started using, and I believe Anthony downloaded it too. It works really well, and for the responses that you get out of it is pretty amazing.
Nice. So on this app that you've downloaded, I know Anthony's downloaded the app too, and Anthony's told me a little bit about some of the stuff he's experienced on the app. Have you had any experiences yet, just
Oh
like
yeah,
what you've
I
had in
mean,
the past, or?
I took it actually to the same place that me and my brother used to use his first ghost box, where I had my first experience, because I feel like there's a lot of history there. There's definitely a lot of energy there. There's a lot of you just feel it in the air, especially after you hearing what you heard already. It's almost no question in your mind that you're going to get a response. But yeah, on this new app, it works really good. Um, it's called Necrophonic. You can find it on Google Play. You might have to pay like $10 for it, but anything that I've gotten from there was so direct. It was calling my name. I said, I've asked for my brother's name when my brother wasn't there. I've asked very personal stuff. I've asked, do you know who like my mother is that doesn't live too far away, and like says her name plain as day? Or I'm like, do you know how old I am? It's like, okay, there's something intelligent there when you're getting too many personal responses back. You know, um, and two, you feel it when like
Yeah,
I don't know, it's a weird feeling how you get before you know it's gonna react, because you kind of get like these signals that your body or your soul, whatever you want to call it, kind of reacts to it before, and then all of a sudden you'll start getting these crazy responses that you're kind of overwhelmed. You ask for it and then you get too much and you're like, oh, I gotta stop back. I gotta step back from this. Um, that's my.
yeah, for sure. Oh, that's crazy, dude.
Oh, really?
We lost Anthony. He's not
Hello?
in. Yeah, I kept hearing like a
Oh
bleep,
yeah.
like it kept like beeping. So maybe it was like his
Uh,
phone, like maybe his
but yeah,
battery
man,
died on his phone.
have have you had any experiences with it with yourself, or?
Oh, absolutely, man. Um, Actually, like the experiences I've had was with Anthony, and I'm pretty sure it's the same ghost box that you're talking about, man. Because he got a radio from Radio Shack, and I bought a little digital recorder, and we were going out to like the little bike trail in Roseville, and we were kind of getting some hits, not a lot. And like to me, a radio is it's still the best way to do it, because when we were doing it, it was on an AM channel. We weren't doing FM. We were just doing AM, and everybody knows on AM, there's not as many channels as an FM radio. So the odds of getting a voice hit is way less than on FM. So like the one time that we went to I can't remember the name of the park. Like I always called it Cement Slide Park when I was growing up.
Yeah,
but it was the park that had like the two
Lincoln
giant
Park.
cement slides. And it
Mm.
yeah, there you go, Lincoln Park. We went there and we went to we didn't even go to the creek yet, man. We were just at like a little bit past the basketball court. And like honest to God, Joe, like your brother got spooked and I got spooked too, but your brother got a little bit more spooked than me. And because your brother has a little bit more of he's a little bit more heavier into like the religious
definitely.
belief
And that's what
I am.
what we come from, is hearing that ever since we were kids. So yeah, I feel, yeah, I hear you what Anthony is about.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Anthony's got
no,
some big, cojones.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, I was scared too, but we're there, and I'm sure Anthony's told you about it, but we're asking about like is there, because in this whole area it was basically owned by the Maidu tribe, and we were asking, is there a chief here? And we heard yes. And then we were asking like if there was any women, and it said yes. And we kept hearing a little girl cry in it too. And then we kept hearing rape. And we would ask questions, going throughout the whole segment, and we would ask, like how many people are here, and it would say 666, 666. And yeah, dude. And then like what really got Anthony a little bit freaked out was we kept hearing, we would ask like, well, what's your chief's name? It would say Ram and then Horn, Ram Horn. And it's like, oh, okay, dude, this is like demonic.
It's crazy.
And
what you're talking
dude,
about, I've been out
was
there
crazy,
to that
dude.
same area, but that's where they call the Rock. It's just like 20 yards away from there. It's next to the creek. So when I was getting responses the last time I was there, and I go by myself, and late at dark, dude, like it'll be like 1 o'clock in the morning and shit. I'll go out there, and I was just trying to see what I could get. Sometimes they say you get more responses when you're by yourself. I was over there like, okay, well, test me. You know what I'm saying? So I went over there, and I got some crazy responses. Yeah. The same thing. What you're saying right there is the whole the horn thing. I'm like, horn? And I was like I was like, oh, you talk about the horns from the train, because right there you can hear the trains, and they always honking those horns. And then it was like, no, like really like mad at me. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's crazy that you said that, because I totally forgot about that whole thing that Anthony, the horn thing there, the Ram thing. I mean, that Ram thing is, yeah, because
yeah, man, it was creepy. That was probably because the same night, man, we ended up leaving, and like Anthony wanted to do a prayer before he left, and we did the prayer. And well, actually, before, let me backtrack, because we even like, this is what really spooked him, because once he heard the Ram horn, I asked, what's my name? And it said my name, Josh. And Anthony asked what his name was, and it said Anthony. And he's like, all right, dude, we're done. And believe it or not, man, we recorded the whole thing. But
I remember that whole Ram horn thing, and you guys going out there.
Yeah, we ended up losing the recorder itself, but because I let Anthony hang on to it, and somebody jacked it from him, and ended up losing it and all that stuff. But we ended up going back to my apartment right after that, man, and we were sitting in the I don't know if you remember, but like how it was set up at my apartment, there was like like an
Oh
awning
yeah.
underneath the apartments. And yeah, dude. So we were sitting there and we were, drinking a couple of beers and we were just talking about it. And we're like, oh, you know what, dude, let's try the box here, and we'll record the session here and stuff. Because at the time, my daughter, she was only 3, if I can remember correctly. 3 going on 4. And she kept having like nightmares and waking up every night because she kept seeing this shadow rabbit. She would explain it to me like in full detail of like I could see the shadow rabbit and it's just like a rabbit. And I don't see the body, I just see the head of a rabbit. And it kept waking her up and she kept getting scared. So we started doing the ghost box section or session there. And I was asking like, have you been coming around and are you scaring my daughter in the middle of the night? And it said yes. And I said, well, are you the shadow rabbit? And it said yes. And then I said, well, okay, are you my grandfather? And it said yes. And I said, okay, if you're my grandfather, what finger were you missing on your hand? And it told me it was his finger on his left hand, his wedding ring finger. I can't remember the proper term or the proper name for it,
Oh,
but that
whoa.
was the finger that was missing on his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And then I said, okay, because I'm thinking, we just did the session there, and obviously it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
demonic thing that we were
Yeah,
talking to.
man.
It could have followed us. And I said, okay, well, if you're my grandfather, what is my grandmother's name? And it said Lillian. And I'm like, oh shit, dude, like that freaked me out because it was 100%
Wow.
accurate every time I kept asking. And I asked, like, are you here
Mhm.
to watch over her and me? And it said yes,
Okay.
because at the time I was going through my divorce and a lot of bad shit was happening
Mhm.
with me with my ex-wife and how she was treating
Right.
me and my daughter and stuff. And it was so chilling, dude. Like
No, I
I'm
hear
getting
you, man.
goosebumps talking about it right now, man. Like
That means it's real, when you start feeling those goosebumps, man. It's like um it's a real thing. It's like your soul's feeling that moment. Yeah. Well,
yeah, for sure, dude. I mean, I wish Anthony was on here right now,
no,
to
I hear you, man.
back me
Because
up on what I'm
that's real
saying,
stuff. I remember how good
but
that stuff worked that my brother first had. When he first started bringing that equipment around, like, man, you got this kind of stuff, like, and he was like, dude, and first like two or three times that he tried it, I'm like, okay, whatever. But then when we're going to like deeper areas where I'm like, okay, now it's getting freaky, and and then you know we would always be told all these different stories in that area. So when you go to somewhere like that, in that history, and you're already feeling it, and you're asking these people like personal questions, like if they're there, they're gonna tell you. You know what I mean? Because if I was that person on the other side, I'm gonna say something. You know, and definitely, we
absolutely, man.
got so many responses that, like I said, man, it freaked me out a little bit, but as much as I did my homework on it, um, kind of getting back into like, you know, everybody has these questions and we want them answered, right? So,
Absolutely. And I mean, we're coming up towards the end of it, man. I know it's getting late, but I just want to say one more thing, and then we'll end the segment. Um, if anybody is interested in wanting to connect to the other side, afterlife, and if they're interested, if that really exists, please invest in getting a ghost box. Buy a radio and or download the app, like Joe said. Um, and do it safely. Do your research because there is ways of doing it to where you'll open up a door or you're inviting things to come back and attach to you, and it's not always going to be a good thing. There could be good things that attach to you,
Yeah.
but there's also bad things out there too. If you're not a believer, just try it. Try it, 3 times. You'll be surprised what you get out of it. But be smart about it.
Yep.
Don't be arrogant.
Definitely
Do your
do
research.
your
Be
homework a
smart
little
about
bit
it.
about it before you get into something. Because it's definitely real, and it's something. Like I said, we're all curious, but you got to be very responsible and respect it too.
Absolutely, I agree with you, man. Hey, Joe. I just want to say, man, I really appreciate you
Yes, sir, bro.
coming on and being a part of this. I know Anthony was really hyped up about this, man. He was really happy and excited about it. And it sucks that he's not on here right now, because Anchor, we've been having problems with it, as you know, when we first tried.
Right.
The first couple of times. But
Definitely.
hey, man, I appreciate it, dude. And you're always welcome to come on here, brother.
Yeah, right on, man.
I love this
Anytime.
episode tonight.
I'll be more than happy to talk again. Keep on pushing, man, and keep on asking questions.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thanks, man. I'm gonna hop off, and hopefully we can
Yeah,
have
man.
you on
Just you
as
know
soon
where
as
to get a hold of
possible.
me, and we'll do it again. All right, brother. We have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Joe.